In the dark night, the vampire's love was burning brightly, but it was extinguished by a sudden foul smell. Violet suddenly jumps on top of me. I quickly caught her in my arms. She wraps her legs around my waist, and I hold her by her soft ass. I look up a little bit and stare into her blood-red eyes. Darling Tilda, darling Tilda, darling Tilda. She looked like she was going crazy. She had a huge smile on her face. The skin on her cheeks was a little red, and she was breathing erratically as she hugged me. Feeling the bloodlust that is emanating from Violet's body, I too start to loosen the shackles that keep me under control. My teeth start to shift, and a predatory smile appears on my face. Seeing my smile and realizing that I was accepting her advances, Violet's smile grows erratically. Slowly her teeth start to change into sharp fangs, but she doesn't attack me right away. She starts sniffing me and breathing erratically as if out of breath. She brings her face close to my neck, starts licking my neck with her tongue, and, when my neck is wet enough, she opens her mouth and then bites me. Ugh, Tilda. I feel my blood being drained. I also feel an unnatural surge of pleasure enter my body. This feeling was very addictive. I push Violet into the wall. I hear the sound of the wall cracking, but I don't care. I also open my mouth, and soon I bite her neck too. Ah, Tilda, Tilda. She stops sucking my blood and moans sensually as remnants of my blood that she sucked and didn't have time to swallow start to fall from her sharp fangs. I feel my shirt being smeared with the blood, but I don't care. I feel something wake up, and it was like a vampire who can't see the sunlight opening the lid of his coffin. It also feels like he was rubbing on Violet's coffin, wanting to wake her up from her sleep for them to have fun tonight. Wonderful. Violet starts licking my neck again as her coffin starts to shake as the vampire wakes up. Unfortunately, I couldn't directly feel the real deal, but that's a problem that can be solved easily. When I was going to rip my clothes off with my right arm, I sensed a horrible stench coming from an area near my house. It was like someone opening the sewer in my street. Violet seems to smell it too, and I see all the bloodlust and her excitement has faded and been replaced by annoyance. I get annoyed too. That would be an understatement to say how upset I was. My feeling now was like I was about to eat a delicious meal with my wife, but suddenly the sewer in the street broke, and the place we were eating stank with a terrible odor. I stop sucking her blood and look up using my vampire vision. I see two silhouettes at a considerable distance from my house. I see two men together. They were both human, but just like June, they had an aura covering them as if it was protecting them. But, unlike June, whose aura was blue, these individuals' auras were golden, and I was smelling a horrible stench coming from them. Hearing someone's teeth grind, I look over at Violet and see that she has a rather startling expression on her face. Her face was distorted in anger. She was completely pissed off. Those fuckers. They just had to come and interrupt my moment with my husband. Those motherfuckers. They just can't sit in their church and be quiet while they play with the kids they love so much. Those mangy dogs. Pieces of shit. I just opened my eyes in surprise as I saw Violet's face distort into various expressions of disgust and anger as she spoke words that would make the most experienced sailors proud. I bring my face closer to Violet's neck and start licking the blood off her neck. Upon feeling me lick her neck, she stops insulting the people I assume are from the Inquisition and moans a little. Ah, Tilda. I feel her gaze on my neck, and she soon starts licking me too. As I licked her I said, calm down, and think clearly. I sincerely doubt these agents are here looking for us. Ah, Tilda, Tilda. She moans again, this time a little louder, and while breathing a little harder, she says, the agents of the Inquisition. Ugh, Tilda. She bites her lip a little and wraps her legs tighter around my waist. I start to lightly pat her ass while licking her neck and blowing a little in her ears. Wait, Tilda. Ah, Tilda. I can't form a coherent train of thought while Tilda. I feel like liquids have started to leak from her sacred coffin and wet the shorts she was wearing. Darling Tilda. Ugh, Tilda. Wait. She spoke the last word in a strong tone. I stop my caresses and look at her face, which was a flushed mess. Her breathing was erratic, and she was looking at me with desire burning in her eyes. Are you calmer? I spoke while trying to ignore my impulses. Yes, Tilda, she replied as she tried to catch her breath. She pushes me away from her and claps her hands in a let me down gesture. I nod my head and let go. Then I two-step away from her and look at the visitors. Cough, cough. She coughed a few times, and soon she had a noble look again. That look would be more convincing if her shorts weren't wet and her face wasn't a flushed mess. What was I really talking about? She asked out loud with a confused face. I can't help but laugh a little when I see the face she was making. What? She said, looking at me while pouting. I was thinking, how adorable my wife is. Hearing what I said, I could see her pale skin starting to turn a healthy red. She made a humph sound and turned her face away while she had a happy smile. She is so adorable, my God. How can such a lovely creature exist? Before my wife and I fell into our pink world again, I said, "The Inquisition." She looks at me confused. The Inquisition? What about them? I just look at her with an expressionless face. Don't tell me she already forgot. I look up and see they're walking like they're looking for something. One of them is also holding something in his hands that I don't know what it is. At least they've stopped stinking a little bit. Oh, those bastards, huh? She spoke when she sniffed the air and smelled the stench. Her face grimaced with disgust, and then she continued, "The Inquisition agents are probably patrolling. They have a device capable of tracking vampires. This device is useless when they are hunting noble vampires, but for hunting common vampires without support, this device is very useful." "Why is this device useless for the nobles?" I asked, curious. Noble vampires are the only vampires who can pay witches to do countermeasures for this type of technology. She spoke, and then she continued, "Of course there are exceptions. There are ordinary vampires who have been transformed and have a lot of accumulated wealth. After all, this is the United States, the country of capitalism. There are several plebeian vampires with a lot of money here. These agents who are patrolling must be recruits, since an experienced agent has his own means of investigating the presence of a vampire in the region." Just out of curiosity, how much does this countermeasure cost? I asked, curious. Depending on the witch you contact, the value could reach $5 billion. I opened my eyes in shock. Isn't this too inflated? That's what happens when a product is monopolized. Witches are the only ones who have this technology. They can put whatever price they want on it. That's why noble vampires always invest in maintaining friendly relations with witches. Violet said as she walked to one of the bedrooms, "I'm going to change clothes." She straightens her hair that was messed up, and then she started to take off the sweatshirt she was wearing, and was just in a black bra. After that she started to take off the jean shorts she was wearing, and was left with only black panties. I decided to follow her towards the bedroom, of course. When I go towards the room, Kaguya appears from my shadow and holds my shoulders with her hand. "What are you doing, Kaguya?" I couldn't help but ask in a neutral tone. "Lord Victor, please don't be a degenerate now. You have all eternity to feast on each other's lusts. You have all the time in the world to practice the act of reproduction. You might even decide to make 11 babies in the future to compete in the World Cup. But now is not the time for that." I feel my eyes twitch a little when I hear Kaguya's words. Can't this woman speak in a better way? And why the hell does she think I would make 11 babies just to play in the World Cup? Shouldn't vampires be hard to get pregnant or something? "Please join me, Lord Victor," Kaguya said as she pointed to the room beside Violet. I think for a few seconds about my decision. I know that Kaguya won't stop me again from entering Violet's room. I also know if I enter Violet's room now, and I see my wife as she came into the world, I'm going to get excited again and start teasing my wife. On the one hand, I want to go into my wife's room right now, but this horrible stench that seems like the stench of a sewer lowers my spirits. First let's solve this little problem. I can't be horny now. I decide to follow Kaguya's suggestion and walk towards the room next to Violet. I enter the room and see that there is a change of new clothes on the bed. "Lord Victor, do you want help changing?" Kaguya asked while gesturing with her hand. She was looking at me with an expressionless face, but I could see her eyes shining. I swear I saw her doing an expression of, "Please accept, I'm a trustworthy maid." I'll be honest, I was a little curious how she was going to change my clothes, so, like a good adventurer, I said, "Of course, help me change my clothes." When I spoke those words, Kaguya's eyes changed to blood red, and I could see her eyes light up as if she was excited. Then she displayed a small satisfied smile. As expected from Lord Victor, Lady Violet has chosen a good husband. Before I can understand anything, she disappeared into shadows and passed through my body. I noticed that the clothes that were on the bed disappeared and, without me understanding anything that happened, Kaguya was standing in front of me again, holding the clothes I was wearing. The clothes I was wearing were even folded. It all happened so fast I could barely understand what happened. I looked down at my chest and realized I was already dressed. This is impressive, I comment surprised. I was talking about her speed and how she changed my clothes without me feeling her touch on my body. She holds her hand to her chest as a gesture of respect and speaks with an expressionless face, but I can tell she was proud. I am the strongest and most perfect maid, of course. This would be a natural result. Ha! I display a small smile. Somehow I find her adorable. I approach her and start stroking her head. She lifts her expressionless face a little and looks at me. I could see her eyes light up a little. She looked excited. Lord Victor, please keep your hands off the maids. Within just one day, are you already cheating on your wife? My smile threatens to break when I hear what Kaguya says. Is it not the maid's duty to serve her master? I spoke with a small smile. So, you are abusing your authority. She spoke with the same expressionless face. I understand. As it's the master's order, I can't do anything. After all, the master's orders are absolute. And, as I am a perfect maid, and the eldest of my sisters, I must be the one to sacrifice myself so that you don't lay your hands on the younger maids. She spoke as if she were making a great sacrifice. This maid, she's read a lot of erotic books. I stop stroking her head and tug at both her plump cheeks. Lord Victor Tilda, I'm not a masochist Tilda. I don't like pain. Please stop Tilda. Stop your delusions. Maid, I let go of her cheek when she lowered her head and touched her cheeks, which I pulled. I stroked her head lightly and said, "Good job, Kaguya," I said gratefully. I really liked this maid's personality. I feel Kaguya tremble a little when I said those words. I think she didn't like what I said. I looked down, but I just see Kaguya's black hair. I stopped petting Kaguya and left the room. As I walked towards the stairs that lead to my house, I decided to wait for Violet upstairs. After all, I just heard my parents' voices. I think they came home. When Victor left the room, Violet, who was wearing a different outfit, appeared in the room Victor was in and looked at Kaguya, who had a shocked expression. Kaguya, Violet speaks. Kaguya awakens from stupor and assumes a blank expression. Yes, Lady Violet. Violet's eyes changed to blood red, and she spoke in an emotionless tone. He's mine. He's only mine. She spoke in an obsessive tone. I know, Lady Violet. I was just surprised. It won't happen again. Good. Violet's eyes return to their normal color and she smiles contentedly. Violet turns and starts walking towards the stairs. Lady Violet, Kaguya calls out. Violet stops walking. What do you intend to do about Lady Sasha and Lady Ruby? Violet heard Kaguya say. Violet's body starts to shake. She clenches her fists tightly and the air around Violet starts to heat up. If a normal human saw Violet's face at this point, they would just run away in fear. Her face was distorted in anger, her eyes were glowing with a dangerous glint, and all her sharp teeth were showing. She didn't look like a noble woman. She looked like a monster that was hateful enough to burn the world. Realizing that Violet was losing control again, Kaguya takes a small green ball from her pocket and breaks it. Then she spoke in a neutral tone. June. I know. June, who was wearing a green bikini, appears in a magic circle, and, with a snap of her fingers, she insulated the entire basement she created with a sound isolation barrier. She made sure that any sound could not be heard outside the door or on the surface. She also reinforces the walls with her magic power. No longer able to take the feeling she was holding, Violet punches the wall. Those bitches. Boom! The wall breaks in the shape of a spider's web. She has an absurd strength as always, and it looks like she's stronger. June spoke in a calm tone as if this happened often, but she was a little surprised that Violet was getting stronger. He is just mine. I will not allow any woman near him. I will kill those whores. A bloody pressure began to spread throughout the basement. Realizing that Violet was raging uncontrollably and not returning to normal, Kaguya says, Lady Violet, the two women are your childhood friends. Hearing Kaguya's words, the atmosphere around Violet weakened considerably, but the sense of danger was still present. Violet clenches her fists tightly and bites her lip in frustration. It's like she's having an internal battle, but soon her obsession with Victor seems to win. Violet spoke in a tone devoid of emotions. I know. That's why I don't want Victor to meet them. I don't want to have to kill my friends from childhood. Soon she began to control her powers, and the atmosphere returned to normal as if nothing had happened. June makes a gesture with her hands, and soon the barrier she put in place disappears. As always, the same amount of money in the same bank account. I'll charge a little more also for the teleportation tools. These things aren't cheap, and please don't call me suddenly. I was in Hawaii enjoying the beach, you know. TSK, see ya? She spoke as she threw 3 more green balls to Kaguya, who took them and put them in her pocket. From beginning to end, Kaguya just looked at June like she was looking at a piece of trash, but in the end, she nodded her head in agreement with June's requests. The witch services were cheaper compared to other witches who she knew, so spending a little money to prevent Violet from screwing it up is a small price to pay in Kaguya's view. Natalia, the blonde maid, appears from a hidden door. She came here through the secret passages June made in the basement. She was just having tea in one of the hidden rooms in this basement, but she decided to come here when she saw the noise Violet was making. What do you intend to do? Natalia asked. Kaguya sighed and said, as the perfect maid, I cannot let Lady Violet make a mistake that she will regret in the future. After all, the maid must always want the best for her master. She spoke in a neutral tone. Then she continued, Lady Violet is not taking the whole situation calmly. Her obsession with Victor is clouding her judgment. The ritual is absolute. All 3 women must join Lord Victor, because if they don't, Lord Victor may fall into a deep sleep, and the 2 women could also join him. If that happens, Lady Violet will go mad. Kaguya can't help but think inwardly. Sigh, this whole situation is complicated, especially considering this has never happened before. Natalia spoke in a neutral tone with a small sigh. Kaguya nods, and soon she makes a decision. I'll get in touch with Lady Ruby and Lady Sasha. Natalia, the blonde maid who was wearing a French maid uniform, said, be careful with the church dogs when you go out. Kaguya nods and disappears into the darkness.